Welcome viewers to another special edition of the Bakwetu Family TV. Welcome viewers all over the world. Today we are hosting our Bakwetu Family resident MP, no other than Mr. Mabeta, the MP for Kankoyo in Mufurira. Mabeta. Welcome to Bakwetu TV this evening. Mulishan, Mwalile.
It's a blessed evening. May I say Happy New Year to all our viewers and listeners who've been following us. I think you've had the last 4 months have been exciting, and we have enjoyed the path which we've gone through in the last 4 months. And now we have a new year, it's a new perspective, and obviously our attitudes and dimensions and the way we look at things has to change, because now we have deliverables which we have to ensure that we deliver to the people of Zambia. In the last 4 months, we are just doing administrative work, just like I've always said it. But now we have deliverables which the people of Zambia are expecting to see that they are fulfilled. So it's a year full of expectation, a year full of hope, and a year full of obvious for us who are in the driving seats. We have to up our speed and our game to ensure that we remain focused and ensure that we do the right thing every day to meet the expectation of the Zambian people.
That's very good, Mabeta. And indeed, obviously, Parliament is closed. The budget has been passed, has been approved by Parliament. Now, Kuwomba. Obviously, this is a working government, and this is a time now to implement the manifesto, UPND, and we've already started. But Mabeta, CDF funds, as the money started going out now, can you just tell the nation what is happening about CDF funds, please?
Yes, but a budget is just a plan of how the government is going to raise income and spend it. Okay, so before any money is spent, obviously, unless you are borrowing, you have to raise the revenue first, and the revenue side of the government always comes from taxes. We pay, these income tax, pay as you earn, some which happens monthly. You have got corporate tax, which happen maybe quarterly. You've got also daily income through sales, VAT. We have obvious collection of levies. We have road taxes, which we are paying already. You have toll fees. So revenue has to be generated, and it takes a bit of time for revenue to be generated, for the government to go in the full-fledged release of funds which it has collected. But just at the meeting with the town clerk and all the other 3 MPs in Mufrira, at least now the local governments are able to budget on the 25.7 million a CDF proposal, which has been approved in the budget, because the budget is now low. So you can easily go to any shop, we can engage any supply of goods and services on the promise that the money being used is a money which has been committed already in the budget. And this is where now goodwill and we say investor confidence comes in. Someone should believe to say, for sure, this government, when it makes a commitment, it's going to execute its commitment. Already there's a goodwill, there's confidence in the economy, because in the the first working day this year was on Monday, which was just 2 days ago. We've seen what has happened within the 2 days where we had the working days, because 1st January was on a Saturday, which was a holiday nationwide. 2nd January was a Sunday, it was a weekend, no one works. But what has happened within 2 days of the government, 2-3 days of the government, working days in the 2023, it has shown commitment, government willingness to fulfill what has been committed in the budget. So even when starting to tender, looking for quotations, if I walked in a shop and said, I'm looking for a quotation for a tractor, which you want to buy using CDF, they'll quickly give it to me, because they know to say there's a CDF which has been proposed, and the money is good enough to meet that expense. So we're already engaging, the planners, those in charge of managing the funds, execution of government programs. They're already engaging different suppliers to start sourcing for goods and services which they know will be paid through the CDF. So even before the money finally comes to our accounts, there's already execution of the work based on the commitments which we made. So we may not have the money, but the work has started moving, because there's assurance to say before the end of the year, the 25.7 will come in the constituents account.
That's very good news, Mabeta. We know that this is a working government, and they will definitely fulfill what they've promised. Now, Mabeta, there are so many people in your constituency and other constituencies expecting this money. What can you tell them? How can they, who should they talk to? How can they access this money? What kind of projects should they do in order for them to access the money? Or in a nutshell, what is the criteria for somebody who ikala ku Kankoyo or ku Mchanga to go and apply for this money, to access this money? Thank you, Mabeta.
Yeah, I think in the past, very few people even knew about the CDF, The amount was so minimal that you couldn't even talk about it. At least now we've seen there's interest, even in small kids, as young as 6-7 years, they are talking about CDF. The awareness levels have increased. Why? Because obviously, where your mouth is, that's where the money is. They know that there's money coming in the constituents, so there's the level of alertness is high. So the only challenge we're having is people not accepting the role of the councillor and the ward development committee in the CDF. They still want to believe the CDF is an MP's money. The MP will be carrying the money in the pockets and will be deciding where to spend it. So there's a little bit of information gap on the role of the MP in the CDF and the role of other stakeholders like this, local government and the ward development committees in project proposals. But I've made the program, I think on Saturday. Saturday we'll be meeting all the ward development committee members in the 9 wards, plus the CDF committee just to engage them and make it clear to say they are the primary source of projects in any constituency. Every project has to go through them. If they don't accept that project, then it means that when it comes to the level of constituency, it will be difficult for us to look at a project which hasn't gone through the wards. So this decentralization program, I think it has hit us at the time we didn't expect it, because people are still looking at the level of MP being the one to make all the decisions. You know, in the previous government, everything was just centered about the MP. That's why it was even difficult to know who's your ward councillor in your ward, who is your ward development committee in your ward, because these structures had nothing to do in the constituencies. So now they have the work to do. They need to engage the people in the wards or the four corners of the wards and explain to them and get the project proposals based on what the people in those wards consider as priorities. So we still have a challenge of decentralization going back to the ward level for our employers to accept, to say even the wards have got a function and the role to play in the development of their communities.
That's fantastic. So, Mabeta, say if I was living Kankoyo, and then that's the supply to mine, and then my mind vampela order, can I come and access the funds ku CDF and do that order ku mine?
Yeah, definitely, because in the CDF there's a 5 million for empowerment, and empowerment basically is the ability to generate revenue and be able to pay back. Those are empowerment loans. You're calling them empowerment loans because you have to pay back eventually. So when you're applying for the funds, you need to have a business plan on how you're going to empower. How you're going to pay back those funds. Number two, the risk. When you're paid by Mupani, if we give you the money, are you sure you're going to buy the item which you need to supply to Mupani? Or is the order genuine? Because you can find an order which is just being manufactured from your computer room. You know, all those due diligence which has to be done. The risk levels could be high because when it is involving a bit of cash, you know how these cash transactions are, the risk levels are very high. That's why we in Kankoyo, we foresaw this coming, Chirufya. We looked at the challenges we've been facing as suppliers, have been supplying the mine for a long time now, understand, and we foresaw this problem coming. That's why we have now registered the community company we're calling Kankoyo Investments, which is now fully registered with Mupani. Meaning, if you get an order through that establishment, a community company, they will be able to prove and testify to say for sure this order is genuine. It's not manufactured from the backdrop of your bedroom. Number two, when the money is paid, it will be paid in a Kankoyo investment. I'm sure it will be easy, even because councillors and other members of the CDF are also controlling that company. It will be easy to pay you just your profits and leave that money and channel back to the CDF account. So we'll provide this link to manage the risk associated with a cash transaction. You know, so the model is, instead of Mupani giving an order directly, they will throw that order in the Kankoyo Investments company where there's more representation and more control. So that when you trade, obviously, there's more control and there's more genuineness in whatever you're doing. Then you come with an order with a company which is unknown. We need to go and do the due diligence, verify with Pakra whether share orders, whether the company doesn't own or any government, anybody. Because you can borrow money while we already issued a check to someone who owe money. When that payment comes, that money will be used to pay the Congolese who borrowed, and we will lose that money. So there's a risk management component part of CDF. That's where we need to be very careful. How do we recover the money which we're going to invest through empowerment loans to our people? So we thought of bringing Kankoyo Investment so that we manage that risk component, because if you keep on giving money and it's not being paid back, at the end of the year, we remain with nothing to give at all. Then the empowerment programs ends up like what used to be happening in the past, where we have people changing names, changing the same faces, but different names on NRCs. 90 million is given out, only 2 million has been recovered. I'm sure you watched those reports. So in Kankoyo, trying to be a bit more careful to ensure that we increase the number of people who participate. You don't need to own a company for you to do business with the Mupani. All you need to do is to look for an opportunity. Mupani gives you that order through Kankoyo Investment. You trade through Kankoyo Investment. You are paid the money goes back to the CDF account. So we're very much strict on controls to ensure that we don't lose out any coin out of the CDF account.
Mabeta, that's fantastic. You really an asset to Bakwetu TV, because I am a question in the MEPSHA. A lot of people have been asking us, because people knew the previous regime in the Ramasharengira pocket Yaba MP. And then there was so much corruption. And then Bale Pela Sendarama Amakadas. And then Tabale Wesha. You've heard parliamentary committees on finance. They've talked about this. You know, Ministry of Sports, and you know about that, where people were given buses, you know, and they were supposed to be paying 2,500, and they were not even paying back. So it's good that you've explained that there isn't going to be corruption in the process, and indeed, procedures and processes, you know, stringent processes and procedures are in place. Mabeta, thank you so much for that. And then moving to the fight on corruption, we've heard a lot of people who've been searched, investigated. Some of them have been arrested, they've been charged. They are saying ibakateeka ba HH abaleeta intimidate abantu abaleetuma abantu babeekate. Just yesterday, your fellow MP's house, Mr. Bowman Lusambo, was searched. Obviously, for the police to go to his house and search, there must have been a reason. They must have had a warrant. But, sorry, our viewers, we've lost Mabeta. It must be bad internet. We'll be coming back as soon as possible. Our viewers, we are very sorry, but Mabeta must be having some internet connection issues. You've listened what Mabeta said. There's no more corruption. That corruption which was going on in the previous regime is the thing of the past. Now the money is going to be used for the intended purpose. Takwakabya abantu ba Kongo endalama n'obwesha. Ububuteko bulebomba. Ububuteko has come to work, and we've got a president who is a servant to the people. You know, unlike our president their aim was just to save their own pockets. But thank God we've got a president who has promised that he's going to deliver for the people of Zambia. He's going to take money closer to the people. And the CDF is one of the best example of decentralizing the issue of money, decentralizing things, moving things from Lusaka to all parts of the country, to all constituencies, to the local level, so that the people at the local level can enjoy, can take part, they can start their businesses, they can become entrepreneurs. And then you've heard some past few days, you've heard the government has paid the money for the farmers, and they've also released money for the teachers, and they're also going to release money for the pensioners. So you can see this is a working government. This is a government that is working for the people. And we just pray that this government continues in this trajectory so that in the next 5-10 years, Zambia will be a different place to live in. While we are waiting for Mabeta, let me just check on the internet if there's any questions. Somebody has got a question. Yeah, I'm just reading a question from Sichi Chilwana. A lot of people need to be taught, especially on the empowerment of funds, so that they can be successful. Yes, my brother. This is why we brought the Honourable Mabeta, because he's one of our MPs and he's our resident MP at TVBAKWETU TV, and he has explained that they've put up a process, a stringent process, a process that will stop corruption. And a lot of people in the coming days, months, weeks, they will be taught how to access the funds and how to utilize the funds, how they can apply for the loans. But the most important thing is, unlike the previous government, you cannot just go there and apply. They will be doing some due diligence. So if you go there and try to do some dubious activities, try to use a fake ID or fake identification, you'll be arrested. And as Mabeta mentioned, I don't know what is happening in other constituencies. In Kankoyo, Mabeta, they've set up a company. And if somebody has got an idea, has got a business proposal, has got a business plan, and they want to supply Kumopani and they don't have cash, they can go through that company in Kankoyo and supply the mines, and then that company will pay them and they will be given their money. While we are waiting for Mabeta, I'm just going through some questions. Honourable Mabeta, how can I access the money from ECZ? I want to open a workshop for aluminium doors. Basikuya Milupi, yes. We're just waiting for Mabeta to come back. Basikuya Milupi, Mabeta will come and answer that question. We'll come and read that question as soon as Mabeta come back. We are experiencing some internet problems at the moment. Welcome back, Mabeta.
Yeah, I'm sorry, having internet challenge.
Yes,
Maybe
I
it could be due to the rain season. Yeah.
So I was just trying to read some questions. There are some people asking some questions, but this one I don't understand. There's a question on Sakuya Milupi. Honourable Mabeta, how can I access the money from ECZ? I don't know, what is ECZ, Mabeta?
Is it maybe economical? It's economical
empowerment.
Maybe citizen empowerment.
Yeah, something like that. I want to open a workshop for aluminium doors, office partitions, and after he worked at LAMSAT, and he needs money to be able to buy raw materials and rent the workshop. How can you advise Malupi before we go to the next thing, Mabeta?
Yeah, okay, thank you. I think those who are looking for funds have got, currently I've got two categories. Funds for CDF, obvious for small startups, there is a limit to how much you can access because those monies are meant to benefit a lot of people. But there's also the other option of the small medium enterprise, the SME, depending on the value and the volumes of money are looking at the business case. So the first thing you have to do is obvious to do a business proposal. You do your projections, your capital setup, what you need to set up your business, your fixed assets, things you need to own, plus the working capital, what you need to buy for you to your business to run. Also project the business opportunities and the experience you have with that business to, attach the way of worked, what you've done as evidence to say for sure you have the capacity to execute that type of business. Then depending on the value, you go either through the SME or through the CDF. I think the CDF is being concluded, they'll give us the limits because we don't want one project to get a huge chunk. The purpose of that empowerment loans in the CDF is to have as many people, as many youths, as many women having access to small, those who are just starting up, small business starting up so that they can kickstart and start gaining experience in business so that they don't start big and collapse big, because every business goes through a stage. No matter how good you are, there'll be a point at which your business will start going down. And you need experience to keep it afloat. So if you start big, the chances of you falling big will be very high. But when you start small, obvious, you graduate and learn through your experiences. So it's either through CDF or the small and medium enterprise, depending on the values and the demand. Obviously, you have to build a business case.
Thank you, Mabeta. Mabeta, you know that there have been a number of PAC reports, parliamentary committee reports, just before Parliament closed. Can you just comment on those reports so that the people can know about them, maybe one or two reports? Thank you.
Mkaiva Barbara, welcome. Good evening and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year, Patrick. And
welcome, Barbara. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you, Mabeta.
No, nice to meet you.
Working honorable.
Yeah, Patrick, I think having had the chance to sit down and watch PAC maybe for 3-4 days was so shocking. And coming from a background of working in the banking sector where they were so strict, and we came to realize to say, money doesn't mean anything. Money is stationary in life. It's just something used to do something. I couldn't believe the appetite, and I can say the inhuman, the inhuman way our friends in the PF conducted themselves to handle finances of this country. They are given a responsibility. The Zambians trusted them, and they gave them a mandate to manage the affairs of the country on their behalf. But when you looked at the fertilizer scandal, that scandal of swapping, giving a contract to the Redcliffe, the company which was not registered one in Zambia. Number two, it was assumed it's a Dubai company, but every time PAC tried to call the shareholder to come and respond to some allegations or things which are not clear in the reports, they kept on responding from different countries, not even Dubai. Meaning they were even faking their residence. That was the biggest scandal of all time. You look, when you saw how the controlling officer was struggling to even say, to give us a report on how that tender came in, it was clear that the instruction came from State House. During PAC, you've seen that there's that woman from Ministry of Sports who was fired for refusing to give money to cadres, to give empowerment buses to cadres. There's another man I watched who was fired because he refused to pay money from RDA, where he was acting as the CEO. They're just trying to do the right thing. People got fired. They were cleared out of the way. So the level of grantonia, the level of selfishness, and the level of scavenging. Scavengers are like Bapungwa. They're always looking for an opportunity to eat. They don't want to work. Hyenas. But was just too much in the previous government. And it's really hates Bachirofia, it's really hates that we have people we trust who don't love us at all. They are busy sharing our money, our resources, without caring about the people who gave them that opportunity to preside. And I think the coming of PAC publicly, it has exposed a lot of bad things which we Zambians should never tolerate and allow to happen. When someone is stealing from you, that's the Bible says the thief is he comes to steal and to kill. Those people are indirectly killing us. What we are doing was indirectly killing us. We looked at the report from NCZ where a contract was given to buy a material for producing of fertilizer at NCZ. They supplied just a quarter of it. They didn't finish supplying. Then they because the government was waiting for them to finish the supply to pay them, they invoiced an amount more than what they supplied. They got more than. Then on the balance, they issued what we call interest because the government has not paid them. So they got interest on a delivered overpaid invoice for being delayed to pay. Look at such level of impunity. So the level of corruption or the level of public theft was beyond what we can imagine. It was just too much. It was Sangwapo type of governance. That's why today, Bachirufia, there's so much reaction, there's so much pain from our colleagues in the PF whenever we talk about corruption, because they don't want even to be told that they are corrupt. They react so badly. You go to DMMU, there was a total disaster there. 19 companies being paid for first marks, they never delivered at all. We check out the due diligence of those companies. They were the experience in fashion shows. There were those companies could set up Miss Lusaka, Miss Chingola, Miss what, given contract to supply first marks at DMMU. Since when did DMMU become a buyer of health equipment? Health consumables. They were given a tender to supply N95 face masks. They came with KN95 from China. Even not being ashamed to change the name of a face mask to suit that. So there was just total disaster. That's why you could see abantu kwangala milangire shabo myangire shabo, they became rich so fast. You could just tell to say there was something not adding up in the way people manage themselves. Even those who are not politicians, civil servants became politicians because why? They had something to defend. Everybody in Zambia was a politician. And a partner from South Africa and was asking me to say, how come whenever we are at work, from the cleaner to the CEO, you always talk about politics in Zambia? Is politics the only thing you do? Because the whole system was compromised because of those who are having better than what we are having. But thank God, there's so many nice of what they into. The time to expose them has come, and they shall pay heavily. We shall pay heavily because we have no soft heart for criminals. What we will let we pay. And you have to set a standard. If I can't condemn a theft, meaning I also am planning to steal in the future. I don't want my children, 10 years from now, they start regretting that I was in politics and all I'm doing now is running away from the police, insulting NCCA, fighting those who are trying to correct money which was stolen from the Zambian people. We need to enjoy our retirement. When we retire from politics, it's time when we should become a role model and become an advisor to those who are new in politics. This time, it's so difficult even to consult from those who are in the government. What are they going to teach you apart from money? There's nothing you can learn from them. That's why I'm even failing to pick up in politics, because that's quite an advisor. The former MPs, the former ministers should have been the people to guide that, to say in politics, it's the direction we take. But what can they tell you? They're just beat every time. They're just complaining. They're just wishing for UPND to fail. They're so bitter that their pain is too strong even to handle.
But Mabeta, the corruption that was in the PF was unbelievable. Some of us, we vowed after MMD corruption, we supported MMD and the corruption that started, we vowed not to be involved in politics. But when we saw what was happening, the stealing that was happening in PF, we decided to come back and fight for our country. And that's how you, myself, Barbara, and the rest, we liberated this country. Before we move on, Barbara, have you got any question on the PAC report?
No, it's just, it's like what Mabeta is saying, Honourable Mabeta. It's very shocking, the level of corruption that these people have. I'll give you a story from the grapevine. In Kaunda's time, somebody, you know, those days they had central committee as ministers, you know, communist way. Somebody was reported to Bakeke that he's so corrupt, he's doing bad things. When they called him to State House, apparently, he was so deep in it that he didn't even know that he was corrupt. He started explaining to his boss that, oh, he didn't say that petrol kufumia GRZ car nokubika muri motoka y'abakashibandi. I don't know why they are accusing me of being corrupt. You know, that's how PF are. They are so corrupt that they don't realize that the things we're doing was being corrupt. When they are talking about them, they think, oh, why are they accusing me? Because of they've, you know, some of them, these people you hear, oh, the child is at international school, is probably taxpayers' money that was paying. That's why it's perfect. So when they start complaining, oh, why isn't the government paying for university? Why is the government paying for private schools? It's because they thought it was normal. They don't even know because they don't remember how they were before. Okay, from the time you joined politics, imagine that Mabeta politics lelo. Within 3 years, you become richer than Tony Blair. You become richer than Zuckerberg. But just from the Zambian setup, something is wrong. These people don't realize. Report, you know, the Amman Park report and everything. I don't even want to finish them because it's so painful. You ask yourself, as soon as she report, you know, when there's no political will, you can't say anything. Who last a report at all? It was meant to be 20, it's now 10, it's now 2, it's now this, and nobody's doing anything. It's a painful experience, I submit.
Thank you, Barbara. Mabeta, just a small question. People, with all these PAC reports televised live on TV, now, what people want, Mabeta, everywhere is, are we not going to successfully prosecute these criminals mentioned in the PAC report so that we can deter such kind of corruption in future? Like Mabeta, there is Interpol now. If those people who are involved in the fertilizer scandal, they are somewhere hiding in Dubai, we've got Interpol. Can't Interpol follow them? That's what people are saying. These are the comments people are making. Can't Interpol follow them? And then ban corruption, but drug enforcement. Can't they investigate these criminal activities and prosecute these people? Thank you.
Yeah, I think I want to recommend the Office of the Auditor General, who kept on producing reports which never had anyone to look after, anyone to review them. They would do their reports, they pack them. They do their reports, they pack them. They kept on doing the reports. I think that has given us hope to say we are not lost completely. Because so I want to recommend the Office of the Auditor General, who kept on stuck to doing their job regardless of the interest or the motivation to do it. So now the president made it very clear to say he has a copy from the Auditor General. So he's going to give SEC DEC time for them to settle down, get their reports. If they don't get the reports, he made it very clear to say he's going to take his reports to them. And I also want to make this commitment to say it shouldn't take the president to take a report to SEC. He's too busy, he's got other things to do. Come February, I'm back in Lusaka. I'm going to get the report, read it, and I'm going to go to anti-corruption, DEC, whoever is in charge of those reports, engage them and understand maybe the challenge or the support they may need to act on those reports. Because those reports are in public. The Auditor General gave us a report, he read it out, you know, which we want to also recommend him, because for the first time, we saw the Auditor's report, the Auditor General giving a report to the media. You know, the Auditor General came himself and read out the 2020 Auditor's report. Is it 2021? I think 2021. Yeah, so those reports, anti-corruption got a month.
2020-21.
Yes, they have given them a month to settle down, get the reports and see the direction. They are not inciting because those reports are not mentioning names, or individuals. All we want is those reports to be concluded and closed. They shouldn't be business as usual. What we are demanding for is a service from the people who have entrusted to carry investigation on our behalf, and we're paying them using taxpayers' money. The taxes we pay is what keeps those offices running. Hence, we have the right to demand for an excellent service from them without putting names to it. Unfortunately, if it falls on a friend, a colleague, an uncle, we have to side with the Zambian people. We have to side with the Zambian people. It's either we're with the Zambian people or we want to side with the criminals. Criminals shouldn't have a space in our country. There shouldn't be room for glorifying criminals, because today they'll be stealing money from the Zambian people. Tomorrow they'll come and steal what I'm working for. So I shall not give them space. We need to set a standard to say, in public office, you're not in public office to enrich ourselves. You're not in public office to access a life which we couldn't have accessed if we didn't join politics. Politics is about a service. It's about delivering and making life easier for everybody who we represent, not to enrich ourselves. If I want to enrich myself, let me get back to business and continue doing business, because that's where there's profit. In politics, there's no profit, there's an income which should sustain us.
But Mabeta, you just, the next thing I wanted to ask you was the Auditors Report 2021, the latest Auditors Report. But Mabeta, to me, that corruption that was in government from the top, it even went to the parastatals. But Mabeta, parastatals are there to contribute to the GDP of the country, to contribute to the coffers of the government, because they are owned by the government. Most of them are either 100% or I think minimum is 60% of all the parastatals. And their aim is to generate enough resources to contribute to the coffers, even to employ people, because a lot of private companies, they cannot employ people, but parastatals can. But Mabeta, when you look at the parastatal report, the corruption, the mismanagement, the misappropriation, we're talking of billions. And then Mabeta, some of these companies are even subsidized, which means the government pumps money into those organizations. And then Mabeta, I look at companies like Zambia State Insurance, the company I knew in Kaunda days. I had relatives working there. They were doing very well, very profitable. These companies are making huge losses. Zesco, there's no way Zesco Mabeta would be making losses. One, it's a monopoly. There's no competition, and the product they sell, everybody wants it. Mabeta, here in the UK, we've got more than maybe 5 or so utility companies, Barbara, big ones.
Yeah, they're even more than electricity now.
They're more than that, but they make huge
competition.
profits.
Yeah.
And their tariffs might even be lower than the tariffs in Zambia. So, Mabeta, and some people are agitating. They are saying, why can't we partly privatize these parastatals? You know, like what Botswana has done is 50%. Why can't we, privatize? Because the next thing, the government will be pumping money into these parastatals. So why can't we partially privatize them? Not to sell them, but just partially privatize them so that investors can pump in money, and then also they can bring in efficiency. What do you think about that, Mabeta? And what should we do for those parastatals to start doing very well, contributing to the GDP and employing our people? Because they can be a good vehicle to create employment for the youth. Because previously, Zesco was only employing cadres of PF and relatives of PF. Thank you, Mabeta.
Yeah, it's so shocking to see that none of the parastatals in the last 2 years have made the profits and contributed anything to the GDP. Even when you look in the 2022 budget, there's no line from profits from parastatals. Parastatals have been drained to a point where they are owing billions and billions in NAPSA contribution, You know, they own everything. Sometimes even the salaries, the government has to dip in its coffers to pay the salaries in those parastatals. You know, corruption is like a cancer. Ngayaingira kuifunya ira chupa. Fakti mwifunya fye kuputira fafina abantu baisire putulo omutwe bafunya fye omutwe wa PF. Chachala fe chimubiri. That was a good beginning to uproot the corruption. Parastatals were all compromised. There was ngani Zesco. You find that most of the people who made money, they supplied things to Zesco. I mean, they got payment from Zesco, they didn't supply anything. When you look at the reports, I'm sure the reports will come out very soon on how much Zesco was abused in politics, Zesco was abused in buying. Campaigns. Zesco and others have walked away with them. Thank God that the Minister of Home Affairs has given them 7 days to repender. Most of the vehicles which are being used in the campaign are coming from Zesco. You know, Zesco was abused to the bottom of it. So I think government, private partnership will bring a level of sanity in ensuring that, because if I invest my 2 quarters, 3 quarters in Zesco, I want to let it being wasted. Otherwise, if we continue with this level of, politicians always abusing, go to NAPSA. The stories of NAPSA buying hotels, buying these buildings, buying these malls, overpriced malls which have no businesses. We don't even know whether our money is safe with NAPSA. You know, the credibility of NAPSA, you can doubt. The way NAPSA was abused to promote individuals. We even mentioned, name the malls after their names, after being abused, those institutions which are trying to generate income. They're struggling to get business because of you know, the will, the spirit in those malls is not there. Abantu balalira kwa bayibire mpya bayirisha na palira investment yaba NAPSA. So we as a country we need to accept to senge fina mwachilanda baba bachando kwe bati omuntu uri mingana kwata ifya fina ko basongwai abasongo barenda limbita fuere kuri ifoto aratsanga strange kuri bena it's normal. It's fashion. Barenda fyo bwino but ifoto ngesha fuere ifoto arafiro kuchipokerera but kuri bena chari berera n'abanenso fo cyaberere okwivaho kuryamo connection influence chirumba mataki, it was part of their life. So when you tell them to say sister tawufwereje barakuda kwa twishurera ndaye kukumwena mwokweta mano kumana kwata uli nomo zangu ko kubapu nomo but yura nomo zangu ko kumenshi kuma nomo. So that's the normals we need to bring. There should be morals, values, you know, ukutine shiri chove wakwata kafekera katina kakwe but how it stage and wakata be conscious, bring back their conscience, see how they vent their anger when they're reacting. Tuwatina no kutina mwana wa mupashumu lelo ichibemba bachanda chiranda ati ule lo shata wamuche bakukanwai alo shanga atalala akabwera munomu so badaba lelila sentwa pere tuwapere chance baloshe alide bantu ngatwala bakongere
Mabeta, to cut you short bambaefano kuya kwa munungu okuya sindo bwanga ukulowa
bebe kadi Mabeta wachanda tikufumya ko mutwe mulamunanga waipa yengo ko waputulo mutwe ngata uike tebwide ila puruluka yamba fyo
Now, Sister Barbara, on the Auditor General's report, Nama Parastatals, any question or any comment you've got about that for Mabeta? But Sister Barbara, on the auditor's report, you know, the losses Yama Parastatals, any comments, any thoughts or questions for Mabeta before I ask him a follow-up question?
I don't have any questions, Patrick, because as far as I'm concerned, you know, when you're looking at it from the outside, if in Philamonica quite pretty simple, you know, it looks like, you know, you can just do A, B, C, D. But then when you're in the inside of a process, you have to realize that abantu balabomba for so many years. Tabatana understand, you know, ngamwasa change into drastically, bambibalambo kumona kwati mule bashita, you know, mule bashita victimize or mule fati but the bottom line is, before it gets better, it's going to be painful, whichever way we look at it. It's just like, you know, there's a time a friend of mine buys I socks makuzande to the pub, you know, pa shopping center. So bambo kunjipusha so abantu tabafula okulaba babe nama taxi driver bali fe order ya parking saya bale following my instructions. But yeah, because ngata following instructions baba fined. Now imagine the same thing we can do ku Zambia. But the yapa kwamba payati nga waisa parking apa twala kulipisha mpya abantu balafulu. Oh nishmona kaiba liberero ku parking afi anyhow aisa wa chila muntu okukwalefa nga tulefa tukupe order ya ama bus station bamuleka tukuli apani bus number 216 fyonse file konkana fyafya aliakali. For us to do it now, it will be painful. Abantu baliberera disorganized order. For us to correct nanguni ba ZESCO aba bomba mu ZESCO baliberera okwikala fe bambi balekala fe balefola bambi bali ama girlfriend baba nenga baba fumye nchito pakaisa mkulanda tibale tuchita victimize. So before we get to that proper level, we have to psychologically prepare that we have to go through a bit of a painful process. Chimuna giving birth. Before tawafia Roma no musuma kula kukapita mo muli labor, muli 9 months of pregnancy. Now upivana kukaba orefu no kuikuli pakawaisa kwebatia is a beautiful baby child. No manambo. That's how I think of it. I don't know. How do you think, Mabeta? I don't think it's something that you can just say it's A, B, C, D.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it will take a bit of courage. Marishivanga olerwa na ngosha na ingira kuwendo. Filo asende chimu tukia kumutonkola. Bantu ngani muwendo to amwipaye. So filo amutonkola nga amutonkola chakali pafuma. Oro wala amwipaye. So this process of cleaning up the system is going to be painful. Nambata twachine na ifofuine ufesi the ngoshe. Kwa konsa kuwendo ali ngoshe tukamusanga tukamuchonkola paka kafume. Bantunga ngoshe ngana kuminino tukoko babra wateke nkoko amino tukoko aya kuwendo tawa muleke. Ulobuka chila sende. Chila minine chilo chole fuwa bantu wachishi wachila. Nkoko elanga ya kulomo kesa shoka shitema kalisha tikanyu na nguni ka bandano kanyu. Olongoshe amina ndefu amutonkola twala batonkola tatu abareke iyo cyara kalipanga kutsima wakatsimafye lero tatu akabare tukabachonkola paka cyabaminine chikafume it's
abadose kopya kwa munungo kwa mkofayo bwanga bare mona chukubekata buka bora la buloshi
bare kwa yaba katereka lomba zilimbe kuti vya homba tete viombe lomba tete viombe kufupokela pati na afisa
Bareko kwenda muri ba mukwaye barepupuka.
Baba Mabeta mwanjibukisha fenani ya laptop ya maplanga ya kwete katereka lumba. Ngapita pa roadblock no mumona abantu. I think yo balefu ya ba brother besaba ku kabushi.
Yeah.
Bamukelebai. Good evening my brother.
Happy New Year Mukelebai.
Good evening. We are
Good
on the
evening.
Auditors
Good
Report.
Evening.
Yeah, we are on the Auditors Report and mostly on the Parastatals. If you got any comments or question for Mabeta, yeah, we've got
so much.
7 minutes to close.
Good evening, Mabeta. It's good to see you.
And Happy New Year.
Same to you. Thank you. Good evening, Barbara. Good to see you, my sister.
Good evening.
Well, bitumeza hulu kimanzi bwani sichava Jesus sichava bulozi kumulutwela kaofela bakaoma wa Mungu sesheke kalavo. Let me not waste much of your time. You have done the best that you have done, but me, I just want to reiterate to Lusambo and Lubinda, who is a brother to me. Lubinda is a brother. And what you see, ladies and gentlemen, with these guys, this is what we were telling them, that you have taken advantage. You took advantage of demonizing our president, or rather, before he became even president, Hakainde Chilema has been demonized by these people, the so-called PF, even when he was not even a threat to them. They said a lot of things, all in the name of trying to protect what they were trying to do. They cover up their wrong. They were trying to cover up their wrongs, which Hakainde Hichilema and his team saw it through. They saw them through, and they started telling the nation to say what these guys are doing, it's illegal. And the warning signs were there. So now we understand why these people became so agitative and became so provocative and tried to demonize the person who was harmless, who was just trying to tell them the truth. And that is how we managed. Remember, they lost. Zambian people were convinced. And today they have the audacity to come out and start attacking the government that is trying to put things together. You know, it is quite, it's a touche actually to them. It's a touche because these are the things that we warned them, we told them, but they did not listen. They chose to look the other way around because they thought they had a little bit of cash. And they thought by a Zambian status, when you have money, you know the ka walking, ka handwriting, whatever, fionse fila chinja, fila imbo mulumendo udati mwankole. So, avama guys ava, tualeveva. So now January, it's here. The new dawn is now trying to put their budget in order, and they're trying to do their job, and they're trying to put away the liabilities of the PF. So I feel that what the Hakainde Hichilema regime is doing a tremendous job, and we should not even look aside and feel sorry when these chaps are being visited, because they are being visited because of their own things, their own wrong things they did to the Zambian people. So I am so happy that it's not Hakainde. The problem is they think the Hakainde is the one who is instructed, but it's a wind of change that has come in all government institutions. Even Banapsalelo, tule umfwe finto fe mwachitile, guys, you guys, the directors.
Thank you so much. We're running out of time. We want Mabeta to close on the 2022 budget, just to make some remarks. But before that, we've got Jacqueline. Jacqueline, welcome.
Thank you very much. Hello to everyone.
Any comment,
Barbara,
Jacqueline?
nice to see you.
Jacqueline, 1 minute. Any comment on anything we've discussed today?
Mkwai, thank you so much.
Question to
They want to detract Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President Hakainde Hichilema, Naba UPND from the development that we've planned for the people of Zambia. This government today inherited coffers and a system from a criminal organization. Come on, let's be serious. The worst criminals who were in organized crime called the government, PF. Power. Do you know how long it will take for us to clean? Today, even the few pronouncements you've seen, if you cannot say, guys, you are working, these men are not sleeping here. So, I'm disappointed. He is supposed to start sending people to the radio stations to just, talk as well, and ensure that people like Menelusambo, Benelubinda cannot be capitalizing on the radio stations, whether private, commercial, or whatever. We can't allow that. So our party needs to reorganize, because even as we speak, prison balubinda palabalina abeshatifika bakumya nanguni next year kanofe bakengiremo nanguni 6 months balishwe for bachita na tote.
Thank you, my sister. That's what abantu bale for kumfa, because abantu bonse balela ndati. ninshaba abantu beekatira n'okubatwala ku kifungo n'okubakaka. Just like abantu tabatemenwe uli omukashana basangire n'ama millions at Faith Musonda n'omukaka. But the government did a good thing. They recovered the money. Now omikata again. You never know bakamukaka nomba. Ba Mabeta, you've got 2 minutes to conclude. If you can touch on the new budget, which is operational now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think first and foremost, I want to thank everyone. I think it's been a good journey when we are still in the administration process. Now we're in the implementation process. Like just as I said, you have got deliverables, you've got targets, you've got what you want. At least now the direction of where I want to go as a country in 2022. So all I'm asking for is just a bit of patience. The government to spend money, they need to raise the money. You know, don't want to go into borrowing because that's going to affect the exchange rates, interest rates. So the programs which were promised to be done in 2022, they are not a one-day's event, no. It's a whole year's event. So they'll be happening as planned by the government without having an effect on others. Because what will happen is if the government borrows money, sends the whole 25 million, boom, in the constituencies, that's going to spiral inflation because they're going to have too much money, which hasn't even too much money to spend, which is not being supported by production. Hence, we're going back to the same problem of hyperinflation. So there are stages which are being done to ensure that while we're spending the money, also controlling on inflation. I think Zambians should be proud of themselves. Since 2005, this is the first time we've had a kwacha which has shown a lot of resilience during this festival period. Because when in Christmas, New Year, there's so much demand for imported goods, Zambia being a net importer. So the demand for the dollar is so high and the pressure is so much that the kwacha loses the value. But if you've seen, the kwacha has been stable during this period. It's been losing a bit of value through Kungwes, but we've been trading below 17. Even if we could cross to 17 a few weeks come, but obviously there's money, cash flow, companies will be paying their taxes. So we're going to have a kwacha which is going to start a year at a very good pace. The benefit of a strong kwacha is stable in prices. Stable in prices, obvious. We're going to see even the cost of goods, the cost of living starting coming down because we've got a stable currency. Investor confidence is going to be high. Those who want to invest, so we're going to have more money coming. So the pressure we had was to be in this stage. Now things are happening. Tuikwata sana pressure by UPN. Let's leave politics to those who are mourning. Kava fina twala ndile. Fina wachanta wa Barbara. Tinga waputula inkoko umutwe. Pakufua ila sakanya. So the Kenny Sakanya whatever they for because no matter what PF is dead. They will never come back to rule this country. It's a dead party. Maybe they can come in another form, but not through PF. So the Kenny Masakane gatwa bashina. Bafira batoroka ngabalira ule losha tawamuche bakukana the Kenny badi the kai china chikalipa. I thank you all, may God bless you.
Our viewers all over the world, thank you so much for listening to this special Bakwetu program. Mabeta, thank you so much. Despite your busy schedule, you always come here on Wednesday. Please keep on coming so that we can tell the people what this government is doing. Dr. Barbara, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for coming in. Jacqueline, thank you so much. You only spoke for a few minutes, but what you spoke was so powerful. Thank you so much, my sister. Keep on coming.
Thank you. Thank you,
join
everyone.
us and contribute, please.
Thank you.
This was another edition of Bakwetu TV. I was your host, Patrick Chilufya from the UK. Thank you so much. God bless you. Good night and bye for now.
Good night.
We're still alive. Maybe, Mabeta, you can say something before you go. Anything?